want to thank everybody who's been with me, my Xbox clan.
When Kobe's going back to play Madison Square Garden, and he's like, hey, hook me up with dinner with Heath Ledger.
Like Russell Westbrook, that was a great feat the other day. I couldn't even tweet it out.
It's Coach Frank Vogel here, full of enthusiasm and positive energy.
Ask me what I like to play with Kevin Durant. Ask me about Kyrie Irving, Giannis. Ask me about Embiid, Ben Simmons. Go ahead, all of them.
There was a time when the Israelites were wandering in the desert and all of a sudden bread came down from heaven. That's kind of what today feels like to have KCP join.
Welcome back to Bulls vs. Blazers. You can, as always, find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, anywhere else you get podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review. Subscribe to the Patreon also at patreon.com/BullsVBlazers. We have been reading Skip Bayless's wife's book about how to date a sports fan. So if you want to listen to that, which I think you should, it's really fun. You can go check it out on there. $3 a month. You get an extra episode per week. I am Sean Highkin. With me, as always, Erik Gundersen. It is vibe check time, and there are vibes to check.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We have vibes and bags to check. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
So this is shout out to the Bucks families.
You know what? Shout out to the Bucks for honestly, like, they didn't go out sad. Like, they, the Giannis, left game 4, they won. And then this time, Giannis didn't play in game 5 because he had the ankle injury, and they still competed. Like, they ended up losing, and they basically lost the game because, like, they led in the first quarter, and then they coughed up their lead in the second quarter. And then in the third quarter, they made a run and caught back up, and then they basically had like a 5-minute stretch where they did not make a shot, and that basically doomed them. But they, then they kind of recovered. They got it within 4 at one point in the fourth quarter. They competed. I kind of figured once Giannis wasn't playing in this game, I was just like, okay, this is a wrap. Like, shout out to White Dante. We're big White Dante fans, but when I saw that White Dante was starting, I was just like, okay, this isn't really going to be much of a game. And then it was. So, shout out to the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they didn't go outside, and also shout out to the Bucks in general for going on strike and having the moment that they did. Like,
shout out to George Hill.
Yeah, shout out to George Hill. Like, they made an impact on the bubble, even though they're going out sad. Like, they made a massive impact on the whole league. I mean, shout out to that, because I don't know what their impact would have been without that. But
right,
but they did it. So shout out to them. Like, that's a very real thing. Like, that was massive. And it was really just, I mean, the Heat had to take care of business. It was kind of an ugly game, honestly. Like, Jimmy didn't play very well. Tyler Herro is like the man. His vibes are his vibes are very strong. Is Katya Elise Henry in the bubble now? Do we have that confirmed? His IG model girlfriend.
I do not know that, mate. I mean, I don't know who that is, but I mean, good for him if that's what he's about.
It's his influencer girlfriend.
Okay, hell yeah. What kind of influencer is she? Is she like a clothing influencer?
I would say like a fitness influencer.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Is she like a cool fitness influencer though? Because I've heard of like a lot of I saw some I forget who, but I saw somebody's tweet thread yesterday about a fitness influencer that they were following on Instagram who like ends up being like QAnon or something. So
no,
I don't know. We gotta maybe do some investigating into Tyler Herro's fitness influencer girlfriend to make sure there's not any shenanigans going on.
Yeah, I'm just being I don't know exactly. She has a ton of followers, and like early in the season, like he like shot his shot at her in like the comments.
Yeah, dude.
And like now and now they're dating. Yeah, it's like
okay.
dude. So
I mean, he's a good looking guy, and he's like a big fashion guy, and I've seen his haircuts. Like, he's for a white guy, he's got a lot of swag.
Yeah. Someone named Trap God on Twitter had this great tweet. I mean, this is only facts. Age when they made their first conference finals: Michael Jordan 26, LeBron James 22, Tyler Herro 20.
My favorite thing about Tyler Herro is that his Instagram handle is RAF_Tyler, and RAF stands for rich and famous.
I had no idea that that's what that stood for.
Yeah, no, I found that out. Yeah. I mean, he's actually like he got a pretty interesting story. Like, Mirren did a profile of him like a year ago or something when he was still in college, that basically he basically got death threats for not committing to go to Wisconsin because he wanted to go to Kentucky instead. And so he just he basically got like death threats like from like his hometown because he left the state. And so then, he gets drafted by the Heat and now he's killing it. Like,
that's cool. Actually, I had no idea that he was that cool, but that increases his cool factor even more.
Especially like, like in Wisconsin, like when you have a white guy who's local and who's that good, like, that when he doesn't stay local and stay in Wisconsin, they're really mad about it.
Okay, it's the same thing that happened with Kevin Love here in Oregon because he didn't go to Oregon. People held that against him, and when he came back, because lots of people from the Portland area go to U of O, and there were like tons of people there being like, "Fuck you," like, and saying all kinds of like terrible shit to him as like an 18-year-old kid.
That was often even still a thing, like, after he got to Minnesota and he came back and played the Blazers. He was still getting booed for a while. I think now nobody really cares, but, at the time, it was a big thing when he was in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, it was a huge thing. I think once he went to the Cavs, I don't think anybody gave a shit anymore. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, that stuff is weird, especially in, places that really care about their college sports. Like, obviously, Wisconsin is a big-time school, Oregon, obviously, as well. But it's like, I mean, terrible. Terrible stuff. I wasn't at that game, but I have friends that were at that game, and they told me like some of the shit that they heard was like some of the worst stuff that they've ever heard at a sporting event.
Yeah.
Like, so like I can only, no, of course not. I mean, Oregon fans are great, but they're also terrible. And so like, I can totally see why Tyler Herro got hated on the way he did, but shout out to him for doing what was right for Tyler Herro. And now look at him. He's in the conference finals. Miami vibes. I mean, Miami vibes are great. I love how dedicated they are to their coffee. Have you been catching up on this at all?
Oh, I saw that Jimmy Butler is like running the hustle as like selling $20 cups of coffee to like staffers.
Yeah, and they have they added like a staff video guy because they can add staff members throughout the as long what they have more allowances, and so. Apparently they have like one of their assistant video guys is in the bubble now, and apparently he makes a lot of coffee too. So now Jimmy has some competition according to Erik Spoelstra. And then also I have to give a shout out to Erik Spoelstra and the Heat. They are big fans of Cafe Bustelo, which is my brand of choice when it comes to coffee because it's very good. It's pretty cheap.
Is that Venezuelan?
No, it's made in Florida. I think it's like Cuban. I think it's like Cuban inspired, like espresso style coffee. But you can buy it in bulk, and it's good coffee. And so
okay, I might have to try that out.
It's a good alternative to like if you don't want to get like the expensive beans at your grocery store. It's a good alternative. So since the Heat are pro Bustelo, I have to give them major props as that's how I start my morning every day. So Cafe Bustelo, by the way, call us if you guys want to advertise on the pod. You guys are getting obviously tons of free advertising from the Heat though.
Cafe Bustelo advertising Bulls vs Blazers challenge. We're putting it out there.
We are.
So Heat vibes are phenomenal. The Bucks vibes are surprisingly good considering that Giannis didn't play in the last two games and they just got eliminated when they were the 1 seed. Because Giannis, after the game, well, first of all, I was on a Zoom call right after the game. And at one point he said, hopefully we can build a culture in Milwaukee for years to come and compete for championships, which, that's not like definitive, but it was at least like, he didn't come out and say, oh, I want to leave. And then about an hour later, Chris Haynes had an exclusive with him where he said that a trade request is not happening. So hopefully, I mean, that doesn't mean he'll stay, but hopefully, since he said he's not going to ask for a trade, we can just put this away until after this next season. And then when he becomes a free agent, he'll do whatever he does if he doesn't sign the Supermax. And so, we'll deal with it then. But the fact that he said so strongly, I'm not going to ask for a trade. That just means we're not going to have to spend the next year being like, hey, the Warriors could offer Andrew Wiggins and the number 2 pick in the worst draft in 20 years. Or, what if the Heat traded Duncan Robinson and Kelly Olynyk and picks? That's not going to be a thing, which I'm very happy about as somebody who is very annoyed generally with the NBA free agency media industrial complex and just how they constantly whenever there's a star in a small market, they're just constantly oh, when is this guy going to leave? Should he ask for a trade? Like, where should he go? Like, and I just, like,
it was refreshing for Stephen A to throw Portland out there as a destination, though, as a change of pace from just big markets. He's like, hey, maybe Portland, and
you know
which
what?
like,
did Carmelo give that credibility? Who's to say?
Maybe I think it definitely has to do with Carmelo, and also Dame being just like the baddest dude in the bubble to start it out. Like, I mean, I think he turned Stephen A into a believer. But I do think, yeah, I mean, I like what he said, obviously, but with the caveat that when guys are, maybe going to leave, they never say it in the media. It's always leaked in some form or fashion.
Well, unless you're Anthony Davis and then Rich Paul just tells Woj on the record that he wants to be traded.
Yeah. I think it was maybe like Woj knew something was up, and then he was like, hey, Rich, like, this is going to happen. Like, why don't you just talk to me on the record? I think that's what happened. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's how it happened. It was like Woj had it, and Rich was just like, forget it. Like, this season's fucked. Like, the Pelicans are terrible. And that's something that's going to save the Bucks. Like, I think it's more going to be like a Kevin Durant situation where this team is going to be good again. They're going to be at the top of the East. They're going to be good, really good. I like the rumor that Mark Stein put out there that a lot of teams believe the Bucks will kick the tires on Chris Paul because but that aside, Giannis has to get better at the jump shot. The 3-pointer gets a lot of the press in how he needs to improve, but other than kind of dunking, he doesn't really have like a hook shot bag or like reliable post moves that he can go to, and he doesn't have like a real like a floater, like if he had a floater, like that would be huge, but he doesn't have that kind of like, he hasn't built out from like the rim to that like inner mid-range area where like it's in the paint kind of, and he like, if he can get really good in that like middle paint area, that can open up a lot for him, because right now it's just like stop him from getting a step on you and dunking, and then he's going to take a set shot. And it's like, okay, he has improved as a shooter, but like if I'm whoever, like I want Giannis living outside the paint. And he's got it. Kevin Pelton wrote a great breakdown of this, like about the areas in which he doesn't really work from, like, because it's all like built around the efficiency. Like his number, he like hardly takes any shots in the like the mid-range area, and maybe it's something that he needs to use more, because maybe that would make him more of a threat. But that's just one idea. But I definitely think that Giannis in the postseason has some things to work on. Obviously, he's an amazing player in the regular season, and he's like, he's the best player in the regular season, but he like, when it slows down, it's build a wall. And then it's kind of like, he doesn't know what to do next.
Well, knowing what we know about Giannis, we know how crazy his work ethic is. I think he knows all this stuff too. And that's what he's going to do, especially because now, he knows that his free agency is coming up. So there's going to be even more focus on him. Now it's like, okay, you're the 2-time MVP, and both, he hasn't won MVP officially, but he's going to by the time, we get to that. But like, he's the 2-time reigning MVP, but he hasn't made it even to the finals, let alone won a championship. And I think he knows that focus is going to be on him, and that scrutiny is going to be on him. And so
he's not going to, I don't think he's going to win MVP next year. I think that's done.
Oh no, for sure. Until he wins a championship.
Yeah. No matter what he does next season, he could average 35 points and 20 rebounds a game. He's not going to win MVP. Like, I just don't. There's no way after doing this 2 times in a row that and just, I think the microscope has gotten a little bit bigger on like where he's lacking, that like we're just going to be like, all right, prove it. Like, show us you are the real MVP when the time comes, and then maybe we'll bring you back. But like, I think MVP is going to be wide open. I just don't think he's going to get it. I think he's going to be on a pause.
Yeah, when you're at the point where, you're a guy like him, especially a younger guy who hasn't won anything yet. If, you win a couple of MVPs, and obviously he deserves both of these MVPs, because he had 2, he was the best player in the league both of those years. But it's kind of the same thing that happened to James Harden. Like, he wins MVP a couple of years ago when the Rockets won 65 games and they were the 1 seed.
They got to Game 7 of the conference finals. Yeah.
He wins MVP. A couple of those years, that both like last year when Giannis won it, and this year, like Harden is in the mix. Harden is one of the guys that you can say, okay, he's got a case, or he's one of the 2 or 3 finalists, but he's not going to win it again until the Rockets make the finals.
No, that's not going to happen. And like, yeah, I mean, yeah, he's not going to get it. It's a thing where I think even, Harden was the best player a couple of years ago, or in 2018, but like you could have made a case for LeBron or Steph. And like, and I think people were just kind of cooling on that. And yeah, I mean, I think LeBron, it's kind of funny tonight that like the Bucks got eliminated, and then because I was at least starting a dialogue about LeBron as the MVP, and obviously I know why he's not going to get it, but like for him to do what he did tonight on the same night that Giannis gets eliminated is pretty poetic to me. That like, he's like, yeah, by the way, I'm still this good. I mean, he was so fucking good tonight. Like 29 at half. And then he had 3 of his 4 blocks in the third quarter, 36.7 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, 2 turnovers, and turnovers had been a bugaboo for him in this series. And he basically eliminated them. Yeah, I guess we're transitioning out of the East because we don't really there's really no new vibes, I feel like, in the Celtics-Raptors because the Raptors got blown out. The Celtics, hey, I was happy to see Jaylen Brown get out of the funk because he missed like a zillion 3-pointers in Game 4. But, I mean, I think Raptors realistically bounce back and force a Game 7.
Yeah, they're fine. I'm not really worried about them. I still think the Raptors are winning the title.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I'm not there anymore, but I think the Lakers, I mean, we are both, their vibes are off the charts right now
because their vibes have never been better.
No, because LeBron was amazing tonight. And then he gets the fourth quarter punch from Rondo, 12 in the fourth to finish with 21 and 9. And follows that, and that's after a great, a solid performance. I think he had 10 points, 9 assists, and like 4
He was
rebounds.
A game high plus 28 in the last game.
That's right. And his plus minus wasn't so astronomical today, but he was just as instrumental. Hit a 3 at the end of the third.
Well, because he was bad in the first half, and then he was good in the second half.
Yes, yeah. He was not very good in the first half, but 8 of 11 from the field, like. And he hit he hit 3 3-pointers and it was just, I think he went on a personal 8-0 run in the fourth quarter. Like it was just, oh God, it was just, we were, the cup runneth over with playoff Rondo.
I was really hating to see it personally. So were a lot of people.
We've been telling you on this podcast what's going to happen, that like it was coming. And this just happened to be the first series where they like really need guard play, and because maybe Rondo probably won't have as important as a role next series as he did this, but maybe he will. I don't know. I mean, he's kicking ass right now, and he like Westbrook actually had a really good game today, but in the second half, just it's tough to see, dude. Like I like. I actually like that's actually like I really like Westbrook, and just like the way I see him at the end of these games, it's just like, man, like you just like you're beating your head against the wall, like the turnovers. I mean, he had 30 points tonight, but the vibes with Westbrook, there's a major bummer, and also the vibes with Robert Covington colliding with Anthony Davis at the end of this game, getting hit in the head. I think he like ran into like AD's like shoulder. And got like he had like a pretty bad gash. I mean, I'm assuming he's gonna play in Game 4 because they need that game. But I mean, if he's out, like they're fucked. Like if Covington's out, they're definitely fucked. Like they're done. Like they gotta hope that he's gonna be okay. But who knows, man? He might be concussed with the way he collided. Like he got a rough hit.
It didn't look good. I just want to say I have been taking notes, and I know you have too. of the people who wanted Frank Vogel fired for even playing Rondo in Game 1.
Yes. And during a lot of Game 2, frankly, there was a lot of like, whoa, I can't believe he's playing Rondo right now. They need, and it was so weird because it was like they're like, they need, and then you like wait for like who they need. And you wait for Laker fan to say that, and it's like, well, they need to put JR and Dion in more. And Dion got hurt, which whatever, but like, or they need to put in more Markieff Morris. Like, guys,
Taylor Horton Tucker, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna save his Lakers.
Oh my god, dude, the Taylor Horton Tucker shit is so annoying, bro. Like, as a Lakers blogger, like seeing every guard conversation like devolve into like, well, what if Taylor Horton Tucker shows something? It's like, guys, he was playing in the G League the entire year. Like, give it a break. This is not going to happen. And because they were just totally against Rondo ever happening, and it's happening in a big way. I mean, this is, everyone's talking about it now. Anthony Davis had a quote, "Playoff Rondo, it's real."
Well, he's been with it. He was with him in New Orleans in 2018. We saw that up close.
Yes, exactly. We which is what got me. I mean, you saw him in Chicago the run beforehand. It was actually, I think, the year before. But like, I mean, he just turns it up. His intensity goes up a level. His shot making goes up a level. Like, our buddy
Julian actually had the best description of it in a group DM that he and I are both in, which is basically that Rondo doesn't even play harder in the playoffs. He just turns his brain on, and it's basically like he takes a limitless pill, but only in the playoffs.
Right, exactly, because he knows he can only, he knows that he'll have like some like, there'll be like some residual effects that maybe aren't good for him, that he can't do it all the time, but he knows when he's got to tap into that. Yeah, he knows when he's got to tap into that mental, just like, he's got to get into the matrix, and like once he's in there, he's just like, he's in there and he's plugged in, like, and he's not going to get out until the job's done. And it's I love it. It's one of my favorite NBA things right now, and it's a classic. It's just one of those things, and I'm glad that, well, now that he's on the Lakers, it's going to be a thing now. Like, everyone's going to be talking about it, but
nobody will ever doubt it again.
No, nobody will ever doubt it again, but we were here before everyone jumped on the bandwagon. So I'm just letting you know, remember where you heard it first.
Anybody who writes a column about playoff Rondo has to subscribe to the Patreon. That's the new rule.
It is the new rule. So subscribe to the Patreon and pay us $3 a month challenge.
Yeah. Rockets vibes are not, they're not 2-1, so it's not great, but like PJ Tucker vibes are pretty good.
Yeah. I don't
know.
Yeah, I mean, and James Harden.
Yeah, Tony's getting fired after this.
Yeah, that's bad vibes. But I mean, I love what he's done with Jeff Green. Jeff Green's been great. 16 points off the bench. Played 35 minutes tonight. They only have so many guys, and I think that's part of D'Antoni's style too. Like, even D'Antoni said it after the game. He thought they looked pretty tired in the fourth quarter, and you can just look at the numbers. I mean, they only had 38 points in the second half after scoring 64 in the first. So they tailed off big time, and I mean, Harden has had a great series. Frankly, I mean, the fact that he's not guarded by Dort is like liberating him on multiple levels. But the Lakers tonight, LeBron took it to another level. I just think Harden can get there. I just don't know if Westbrook and the rest of the crew can get to where Anthony Davis, and then after AD, Rondo. The way that those guys have been kicking it into gear, I just don't know if Houston has. I don't think they don't have another gear to get to. Like, this is who they are, and I think the Lakers have finally gotten up to speed. And I think this is very much in their hands.
Yeah, I think so. And I actually am back now to thinking, I realize that the trendy pick has been the Clippers because they are, more talented, or they're deeper. They have more than just the two guys, but I'm starting to think the Lakers are going to win the West again.
Yeah. I've been a Clippers non-believer pretty much the entire season. Not anything to do with Kawhi. I don't like the way that they play together. Like, this came up last night too during the Denver game. Like, Denver was winning for most of that game, and Kawhi and PG, kind of turned it on the defensive end and really kind of locked in down the stretch, and they can do that, and they're still great. I don't really love counting on Reggie Jackson. I don't really love counting on Markieff or Marcus Morris. I don't really like counting on. I mean, Patrick Beverley's fine, but like, I don't know if he's all the way right. Like Lou Williams on defense, I'm not sure about. Montrez against Anthony Davis or the other bigger guys for the Lakers, I don't really love. I mean, I love Montrez's game, but like, I just think there's just, and also just the way that they have their vibes in the most basic sense is just like, I don't like their vibes. Like they have very like neutral all the time vibes. Like even when they're like the going is good and they're playing really well, like I feel nothing. I get no type of like joy watching the Clippers play ever.
They're not right. They're not an enjoyable team to watch, except for Kawhi. Like watching Kawhi just go to work and just, you know, take those fadeaways and, you know, do his like Michael Jordan impersonation, then also like lock people down.
And the middle finger block.
Yeah, that was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Like the Kawhi thing is like, so I'm all about the Kawhi thing, but yeah, like the Clippers are just, and I mean I love Doc, but like the Clippers are just not like they're just, they complain about everything. They're just like. Yeah, Patrick Beverley is not good enough to be as annoying as he is. Like,
oh, and dude, and the shit talking about Jokic, it's like, bro,
that's
like,
what I was gonna bring. That was what I was gonna bring up, because I think the Nuggets vibes are. I would before yesterday. I was saying that like after they lose that game, the vibes aren't great. But I actually think the Nuggets vibes have gotten better after the way that both Jokic and Michael Malone kind of clapped back at Patrick Beverley trying to call Jokic a flopper, where. I forget which reporter it was. I think it might have been Royce Young in the post-game presser with Jokic last night. Asked Jokic about whether, about Patrick Beverley saying he's a flopper. Right. And then Jokic kind of looks down at the stat sheet. He's like, they had twice as many free throws as we did. And then today, like Michael Malone was asked about it, and he said, I don't really listen to Patrick Beverley. If it was Kawhi that said that, I would care because Kawhi is really good, but I'm not really paying attention to Patrick Beverley. And I was just like, give Michael, like they just signed Michael Malone to an extension like a year ago, but like they should just sign him to another extension just for that.
Well, I love him and Jokic. I mean, they're both so different, right? Like Malone is like kind of like he can kind of be a little blustery and like kind of he's kind of like in your face type guy, but but like Jokic just like so deadpan and just like so like really, dude. Like I just love
Jokic,
it.
Jokic like genuinely gives no fucks about anything.
No, so like I said, he's Serbian Kawhi, and I do think that like. I think that series is going to be tight. Like Jokic has found something after that terrible game one where he's good again. And I just think that if he's there, like they don't have anybody in the middle that can hang with him. Like that's the big matchup for the Nuggets in this series. And I think if they get a big one from Jokic and Michael Porter continues to get better, which he seemingly is getting better, like exponentially.
It's been up and down with him. He'll have like that dunk that he had over who was it? Who was the dunk?
It was over Montrez.
Yeah, that was one of the best dunks of the playoffs so far. But then he had like some of the worst defensive plays, or like he went up for a layup like right after that dunk, and it was like the worst like blown open layup that I've ever seen. Like he just like he's so talented, but he's like I get big Anthony Randolph vibes from him. Just in terms of how physically talented he is, but they just like only half the time he actually can put any of it together. I also saw that his dad was in the bubble last night, and I just like the vibes around like the anti-vaxxer stuff are like starting to creep up a little bit. So yeah.
Well, as long as Jokic can keep playing well and being the star of the show, I think their vibes are in at least. Maybe my prediction was right. Maybe Nuggets in 6 is what, or not Nuggets in 6, Clippers in 6 is what it is. I think that there's one more Denver win on the table here, just because I mean, this is a tough team. Like they're overmatched in this situation, but we know this about the Nuggets. Like they're not gonna go out without a fight. I mean, they love their backs against the wall. I mean, it seems like they only play in series that go 7 games. So who knows? Maybe the Clippers are going to be in for a Denver 7th game. But I still have the Clippers definitely winning this series.
Millsap is kind of washed now, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that Jeremy Grant is on their team, though. I mean, that guy's good as hell.
Yeah. Murray's cooled off a little bit from that Utah series, but he's still really good.
Yeah, I mean,
Gary Harris has helped.
Yeah. I mean, that had to happen for Murray. I mean, Murray was literally. I mean, it was like a historic series. Like no series had two guys going for 50 twice in a series, and Murray did. He has cooled off a little bit, but I mean, he's a gamer. Like he's not gonna like hang his hat, and be sad either. Like just because Kawhi blocked him. This team does not care. Like they just go and play ball. And so I think this series is going to be good. I'm excited. I'm actually really excited for that Game 4. I did not think I was going to be that excited for many games in this series, but I'm excited for Game 4 tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll see if Denver can tie it up or if the Clippers are going to take a 3-1 lead and really just kind of put it to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know Denver's come back from down 3-1 in the past already in this year, but
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, those are all the vibes in the bubble so far, but I think we have some other vibes that we need to check. Big news in the Western Conference with the parting of ways between the Oklahoma City Thunder and Billy Donovan, according to Woj. That was unexpected. I mean, I still think their vibes are fine still. Like, I think their vibes are decent.
A couple of days ago on the Hoop Collective podcast, Windhorse, like he didn't report. It was a classic, like,
don't aggregate this.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, I'm not reporting this. Please don't blog about it, but whatever. But like, he said, just so you guys know, Billy Donovan's contract is up and it's not a lock that he stays. So he kind of telegraphed this a couple of, I get it. And like, I think Billy Donovan's a good coach. Like he's going to get another one of these jobs that's going to come open. But like, I understand that, he came from Florida, from the college ranks, where he was very, very successful, to Oklahoma City to take over a team that was still a contender. That he came over right before Durant's last year there, when they were still like a title contender. And he, Durant that first year Durant leaves, but like he's a pretty good coach. Like that team still does pretty well. They almost go to the finals. And then Durant leaves. And they're still decent the next year with just Westbrook. And then they trade for Paul George, and they have him for 2 years. And then this year, they were trying to tank after they traded Russ and George. Like they were trying, even after they got Chris Paul, they were like trying to tank. And then Chris Paul was too good to let them tank. But like every year that Billy Donovan has been there, they've been in the playoffs. And that like this last year was not a year where they were trying to be in the playoffs. I know that Sam was trying to blow it up because he got all these picks from the Clippers and from Houston for George and Westbrook. So he was trying to have this team, bottom out and stuff, but like it didn't happen. And so now Sam probably went to him and said, look, we're probably going to try to move Chris Paul. We're basically everybody except Shea is probably on the table. And I guess Lou Dort, because he's like the new Tony Allen.
They're going to keep Baisley too. I like Baisley's nice.
Yeah. Baisley's decent, but like, they're gonna. They made it clear to Billy Donovan. I'm sure Sam and Billy kind of had this conversation, and I know Sam a little bit. I know he's like a guy that's pretty direct with people about like what he's gonna do, and he doesn't like mislead people. Like I don't think he would have said to Billy, "Yeah, we're gonna try to contend again. We're gonna try to make the playoffs. So you should re-sign." And then immediately like trade Chris Paul and try to tank. I don't think he would do that. Like, because the Thunder have this reputation as an organization that quote unquote does things the right way and does right by their people. And you saw with the way that, the way that they basically like granted Westbrook his wish to get traded, all this stuff. And so I think he was kind of upfront with Billy Donovan about, hey, we're probably going to try to go in this younger direction. And if you want to stay, you can. But Billy Donovan was probably like, you know what, I can get another job. I'd rather try to be competitive and make the playoffs. And Sam Presti was probably like, fine, like you can pay, I don't know exactly what Billy makes. I think he probably makes like $5 or $6 million a year. And if they're rebuilding, I'm assuming they're probably going to go to that well of like Ime Udoka, David Vanterpool, like Darvin Ham, like the young up and coming assistant route. And you can get those guys for cheaper than it would probably be to re-sign Billy. So I understand it from both sides. I understand Sam wanting to go in a different direction if they're trying to rebuild. And I understand a coach that's as proven and as accomplished as Billy Donovan not really feeling like he wanted to be a part of that, and maybe feeling like he can go to one of these, like maybe Indy looks at him if they can't get D'Antoni, or like maybe Philly goes after him if they can't get Ty Lue, or like there's other places he could go.
Yeah, Vanderpool's a great call too because he has history with the Thunder organization. He used to work in their player personnel and other departments on the basketball ops side. So he was working with Troy Weaver and all that. So he does have just to throw that out there. Third eye open. There is Oklahoma City connection with, and they also have with David Vanderpool, and they also have a great young guard that could, maybe use a little molding. In Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So that would be an interesting move. But obviously, there's tons of other great candidates that are going to probably get a look at that job. And Woj already reported that Chicago is interested in Billy Donovan.
I think they're going to go after a first timer.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. But there's Philadelphia. Philadelphia would be a great situation, I think, for Billy. I think it would be a great challenge for him as well. Like you get these two elite players like try and make it happen, and like it's on. Like if you get to Philly, like that team's supposed to win.
I think it seems like the tea leaves are saying that Ty Lue is probably going to get that job, though.
Well, what about Milwaukee if they fire Bud?
Did Giannis getting hurt save Bud's job? Because now he kind of has that. I know they were terrible in the first 3 games, but like, did that save his job? Like, because they kind of have that excuse now. I know. It's entirely up to Giannis. If Giannis goes to the front office and says like, I want a new coach, then they're going to get a new coach. But I feel like it's not a lock that Bud is fired like it did when it looked like they were going to get swept.
That's so crazy. But like, actually, the more I think about it, the more I think that that's what's going to happen. And
especially now that Giannis has said he's not going to ask for a trade, they're going to be like, we can just run it back. Maybe they like trade for Chris Paul and say, hey, we don't need to make a huge trade and get a new coach.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That would be something I would love to see. Billy Donovan I think Billy Donovan is a good coach. I think he's better in the playoffs than Bud. He's not afraid to switch it up from series to series based on who the opponent is. But Bud has a great track record. He especially in the regular season, but like, I guess that's what's going to happen. I don't, if I'm a Bucks fan though, like I'm not very stoked about that.
Oh, no. I think it's pretty like we've talked about 82 game players versus 16 game players. It's pretty clear at this point, not only just here, but also that remember that one year then in Atlanta when the Hawks won like 60 games and made the conference finals and then just got swept by the Cavs. Like it's pretty clear that Bud is a 82 game coach and not a 16 game coach because he just does not make adjustments.
Yeah, and maybe it's a Dwayne Casey situation.
Whereas Ty Lue, I think, is a 16 game coach and not necessarily an 82 game coach because all of those Cavs teams, and maybe some of this was just the fact they had LeBron, but those Cavs teams were kind of disjointed in the regular season and then they just beat everybody once they got to the playoffs.
Yeah, this kind of goes along with our conversation that we had on the Patreon pod about black head coaches often getting like rebuilding gigs. It would be, especially for their first gig, it would be really cool if they hired Darvin Ham and made him even though he's a rookie head coach, like do what the Raptors did with Nick Nurse, like give a rookie head coach a real team and have him try some shit. And like, that would be cool if they just, maybe because that way you also don't have to overhaul your whole system. You don't have to completely get rid of like what you've been building on. Obviously Ham is going to have some different ideas, but like you can at least keep some semblance of what Bud built and build off of it. So, and
maybe be a little bit more flexible with rotations and stuff, maybe more so than Bud was. But Darvin Ham's been putting in time for a long, like he's been with Bud since Bud got hired in Atlanta. Like he's been with him for 7 years now. And I don't know him at all, but my buddy Seth Partnow, who writes for The Athletic now, but was in the Bucks front office for several years, just raves about Darvin Ham and says that he's a guy that like the players respect him and like the analytics guys can work with him. And he says he just like checks every single box of like somebody who's been like an assistant who's ready for a head coaching job. So I think he's going to get one because I know he's in the mix for the Bulls job. I know that's somebody they like. I would think it would make sense that if the Thunder are looking to go in more of a rebuilding direction, like that might be somebody they look at. But like you're right, I think it would be cool if the Bucks elevated him and tried to replicate what the Raptors did with Nick Nurse.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the move because like bringing in Lou would be great if they could, but like you're gonna have a bigger overhaul there, and there's a get to know you period and all this stuff, and it's like Ham comes in, he's got a rapport with everybody. You know, I think after game 3 when they lost, I saw him walking off the court with his arm around Chris Middleton and George Hill. Like obviously he's got a connection with these guys. So. And for all the other things that you mentioned about how he works with the staff and everybody else, like I feel like that's what they should do if they're gonna fire Bud, and maybe they should, because their franchise is on the line. Like this is it. Like you've gone 2 years now with Bud, and yes, Giannis got hurt, but we know nothing was gonna change. Like they were down 3-0 before he got really, really hurt. Are we supposed to like forget that they were down 3-0 that no other team has come back from? Like that's not good either, So I think that especially for the stakes that the Bucks are playing at, they would be very much justified in firing Bud.
Yeah, I mean it's the exact same thing as the Thunder were fine under Scott Brooks. Like there were some questions about some of the things that he did in some of those playoff series, but he wasn't a bad coach. But they still were just like, you know what, we have 1 year to try to keep Durant. We should do something else. And then they brought in Billy Donovan, and obviously it didn't work. But like they were 4 minutes away from the finals, and if they had made the finals, he probably would have stayed. And
yeah,
so like
which
clearly,
he tries to lie to us and tell us that he wouldn't have stayed if they had won the championship. Which like, okay, Kevin. Like, no, like that's you can pretend that that's true in your mind. That's not true at all. Like we all know that would not have happened. Like with all due respect, like that's one of those Kevin Durant playing mind games with people and trying for just him to come out on top. I think they would be definitely justified. I think the Darvin Ham thing would be cool. It would be. Yeah, I think it would be a very much justified move. And then also, maybe you get Bud. Hell, like, where Bud would be tight maybe is New Orleans.
He should. I mean, should Bud be a head coach anymore, though? Like, maybe he should go back to being an assistant. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's clearly great at getting his team to perform at a high level. Like, and it's like if you're a team like the Pelicans who suck. Like you need to start somewhere. Like who gives a fuck about 16 games when you can't even win, 25 games? Like the fuck is it? Like if I'm New Orleans, like walk before you run. Like Budenholzer is a guy that could do that, or Nate McMillan. Like I just think either one of those would be fine for New Orleans.
Bud might be miscast because the Bucks they fired Jason Kidd, who was terrible, even though like Giannis liked him. Like Jason Kidd was bad, but like the Bucks fired him and brought in Budenholzer, expecting that he was going to be the guy that would make them title contenders. And I mean, he did in terms of their regular season record, but Bud might actually be the point A to point B coach and not the coach you hire when you're going to win it, when you're trying to win it. Like he might be more of a like. I don't know who's another guy that's like a guy that you hire when like you're trying. He might be more of like a Billy Donovan than like a Tibbs.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that when he got the Hawks job, the Hawks were good already. Like they were already
decent.
Yeah, they were like a middling playoff team, and then they became number 1 seed. So like he's never really had to be a head coach with a true rebuild or like a true young squad. Like even the Bucks team last year, other than Giannis,
he had that 1 year with the Hawks, and then
when they sucked, they were terrible. They had like Dwight Howard.
No, that wasn't the Dwight year. That was like I think they still made the playoffs that year, but it was just the year after that. It was like the year the year that like Millsap walked in free agency, and then like
and Horford left too.
Well, Horford left the year before, because Horford went to Boston in 2016. But like,
sorry, I'm mixing up my summers.
No, I know, but like the year that it was, because 17 was the year that Millsap went to Denver, and like a couple of their other guys, like I think that was when Kyle Korver, like they had traded Korver to the Cavs at that point. Like all those guys from like that from that 62 win team were kind of gone by then. Like Jeff Teague was gone. All like Horford was obviously gone.
Yeah, they sold that whole team off basically.
Yeah, and this was like John Collins' rookie year. That team wasn't very good. And then at that point, Bud was just like, fuck this. I don't want to be in a rebuild. And so he went to Milwaukee. And this is interesting. He interviewed for the Raptors job. They ended up just elevating Nick Nurse after they fired Dwayne Casey. But all my buddies who are like Raptors, like Alex and all them, like have been like tweeting about how Bud is actually a Messiah op. So, like they interviewed him and then he goes to the Bucks and like sabotages their title contention, and so that Giannis goes to Toronto.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely on the table.
As somebody who likes to keep his third eye open, I support this.
I mean, that's my preferred. I think the fit is both, with the organization would be great. I also think, maybe
the Masai thing is real.
Yeah, the Masai thing is real. The fact that he would it would be like the Africa's team. Like you have a Nigerian GM, you have a Nigerian Greek star player, you would have Siakam, who's from Cameroon, like
Serge Ibaka.
Yeah, it would be amazing. So
I will just say, when Giannis did the All-Star draft with LeBron, when they were the two team captains this year, he drafted Embiid first among the starters. And he was like, I'm going to draft my African brother, Joel Embiid. And then his second pick was, I'm going to draft my other African brother, Pascal Siakam. So he's repping. He reps it hard.
Yes. So listen, I would like for that to happen. I think Toronto would be really cool.
If he doesn't stay in Milwaukee. I want him to stay in Milwaukee just because I think it's cool when more guys do what Dame did and actually stay with the team. But if he does leave, I would be cool with Toronto more so than like Golden State or Miami or just one of these teams that gets guys all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It would be really weak if he went to Golden State.
Also, like, how mad would ESPN be that they've been trying to speak it into existence, him going to the Warriors for like 2 years, and then they suddenly they have to hire a writer in Toronto, and they have to suddenly have somebody covering the Raptors every single day when Canada's team doesn't get any ratings in the US. I would really hate to see that for them personally.
Oh my god, that would be so funny if they didn't. Maybe. I don't know though. They're gonna
make Malika move up to
Toronto, to get a
Bontemps or something.
To get a visa, and then they have to pay Canadian taxes. Shout out to them.
Shout out to both of those people. Those are both homies.
Yeah, they're both great. They're both great people. But it would be funny as hell. But Toronto also be cool. I mean, it seems like it's a cool city. I've never been, but I've heard great things.
I was there for the All-Star game in 2016, and it's a really cool city. I would love to go back when it isn't February. That was the part of it that I wasn't loving, especially because that weekend I had people tell me afterwards that was the coldest weekend Toronto had on record since 1950.
But dude, this always happens All-Star weekend, dude. Remember when we were in New York for All-Star weekend 2015 and it was also the coldest weekend in New York history. It was 4 degrees. New York one,
that was brutal, and the reason that one was terrible was because it was so spread out, because they technically divided the All-Star game hosting duties between the Knicks and the Nets. And so the game on Sunday night was at MSG, but the other stuff was all at Barclays.
Oh yeah, the dunk contest and shit, which I was going there because I was wanting to be there for Wesley Matthews because he was on the Blazers then, and I was covering the Blazers for the Columbian, and so I go there, and that was when Zach LaVine brought out the Quad City DJs, to do the Space Jam dunk, but it was so weak having to go from okay, one night we have to go all the way to Brooklyn, which I was not staying in Brooklyn. So I had to go haul ass all the way to Brooklyn for one night. And then, this is media bitching, but and then go to MSG.
We're 50 minutes into the podcast. We can do media bitching. We're not, it's not like our outlets are paying $50,000 for us to go to the bubble so we can write about how, what the
we hate it.
Is some people.
Yeah, exactly. Although there's differing opinions, because I guess, if you're a reporter, you probably have, if you actually work hard, you could actually get great access, I'm sure. But anyway, man, the vibes have been checked. I don't have any other things off the top of my head for, John Morant won Roy. Shout out to the Grizzlies. Shout out to Ja. I'm trying to think of what else. All defensive teams. Do we care?
No.
No.
Shout out to both of the Hassan Whiteside second team votes.
Oh, and shout out to the hero that also gave Damian Lillard an all defense vote. You are a hero, whoever you are, for giving Dame an all defensive vote. Because we talked about Giannis, we talked about how great LeBron was tonight. We've talked about playoff Rondo. The Toronto Boston series hangs in the balance. I think Toronto, with their backs against the wall, are going to be good, but I think the Celtics obviously also are going to be very good. They have been very good the whole series. Like the one time that they were not very good was the last play of game 3 and like the last few minutes and like the second half of game basically like the third, fourth quarter of game 4. But they've mostly been very good. That series is playing at a high level. I'm excited for that game. Toronto backs against the wall, title defense on the line. Like that's going to be great. So I'm excited for that. Both strong vibes with those teams, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think the winner of this series wins the East.
I think the winner of the East wins the title. That's my new corner. Since my Raptors are looking a little bit shaky, my new corner is the East field.
Yeah. That's a good take. I mean, the Lakers, obviously they have the 2 best players on the court at any given time, but that's the only thing holding me back from saying from picking the Celtics to win it all. Because that's kind of been where I've been leaning. I just like that. Like, I do like that if they get through this, like they beat the champs, like to me, that means something. Like Milwaukee was a paper tiger. Like the Heat knocking them off, in my opinion, is great and impressive and definitely deserves like recognition. But to me, if Boston gets through the Raptors, that's a much bigger accomplishment to me, just because of how much respect I have for the Raptors and the fact that they, even though they don't have Kawhi anymore, they still are the champs. And I think that's going to mean a little bit more for me. So I would definitely be picking, if Boston advances or if Toronto advances, I think the winner of this series is going to advance. So no disrespect to the Heat, obviously, like congrats, like big season, first conference finals since LeBron left. Like that's awesome.
First conference finals for Jimmy Butler.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. He was the 3 bounce shot away last year. And then I don't think, he was never really close with the Bulls.
Bulls almost went up 3-1 against the Cavs in the second round, and then LeBron hit the game winner when David Blatt drew up the play that was like LeBron threw under the bus afterwards.
Yeah, I scrapped that. That was the quote after that. Yeah, I scrapped it. So
shout out to David Blatt's family, man.
Dude, yeah, shout out to David Blatt's family. I mean, he's I think he's an advisor now. He's an advisor for the Knicks, I want to say, because he's retired from coaching. Shout out to him. I think he had a health situation that he had to retire from coaching, but I think he's an advisor for the Knicks now, I want to say.
David Blatt had one of my all-time favorite quotes that I've ever, not even the fighter pilot thing, opening night of the 2015-16 season when the Bulls were playing the Cavs in Chicago. And we got word at Shoutout that President Obama was going to be there. And one of the Cavs beat writers asked Blatt at Shoutout what it means to him that Obama is going to be at the game. And he's like, well, I've coached in front of world leaders before, so that's not a big deal.
That is so head ass. I mean, it's so funny the way like all because we know a few people that covered the Cavs, and it's like the way that they would talk about how unpleasant they found their interactions with Blatt is like one of the funniest things that I've ever seen and like ever heard from beat writers. I've never heard them like unanimously like be like, that guy sucks, like I don't like dealing with him. Like I like, it's very rare that you find like not even a peep of like, I actually kind of no, like there's none of that from Cavs beat writers. It's actually hilarious. Like
Vinny used to call him King Joffrey.
Oh my God, because that was right around Game of Thrones when he was the coach, right in the intro seasons of Game of Thrones.
Well, what I actually remember, the first game or the first or second game that he coached with the Cavs, like the season that like LeBron came back, like their second case, because remember their first game was against the Knicks, and that was in Cleveland, and they actually lost that.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember them losing that game, dude. That was so funny. I was. Oh my god! I had just started dating my wife at the time, and I remember I was like watching this game. I was like, they're really gonna lose LeBron's first game back. Like, it was just so funny.
But then their second game was in Chicago against the Bulls. And this is when Wilms was still like coming to games. I think he was writing for BR at the time. So he said that like he was just like hanging out outside the Cavs locker room waiting for the availability to start. And he was just kind of posted up on the back wall, and like the rest of the crowd was going, like crowded up against like where the locker room was supposed to be.
The tunnel or whatever.
Wherever like Blatt was supposed to talk.
Okay.
And so Blatt goes up to Wilms and is like, "Are you ready?" And like we thought Wilms was the only media person. Then he turned around and he saw that like there were like 40 people there waiting for him to.
Dude, that has to be a shock, dude, from being like a coach in Europe where like there probably only is one guy that's there, and you have to going from that to coaching LeBron's team, which is you know how that goes.
The one thing I will say for Blatt is he kind of had the chair pulled out from under him, because when the Cavs hired him, they thought it was like, oh, we have Kyrie and Andrew Wiggins and Dion Waiters, and it's going to be all these young guys. And then LeBron decides to go back, and then he makes them trade for Kevin Love, and now it's like, oh, suddenly this team has to win a title immediately.
I've heard this multiple times from when LeBron has decided to join a team, both with the Cavs and with the Lakers, that when you're in those front offices, it goes so quickly from like yes to holy fuck, we're a failure if we don't win the fucking championship, so we gotta do something, like, and it's gonna be remembered forever if we're a failure. Like it's like the realization goes from like euphoria to existential dread almost instantly when LeBron joins your team and you work for that front office. Like, I've heard
the league is going to be so much more boring when he retires.
Oh my god, dude, I know. It's just like that's also part of this Giannis shit. Like the anointing and like the trying to like crown, and like they tried it with Zion and it kind of didn't work out this year. And like they're going
to start trying it with Luka for sure.
Yeah, they're going to start trying it with Luka. Like they're just trying to find that next guy, because it's like there is very clearly a vacuum without LeBron, and it's so funny. Just like, yeah, I mean the league is, it's exciting. It's fun. And I mean, he's been vintage these last two games in particular. Like it's been vintage LeBron. And so I'm and he passed notable. I love that he did this, because I hate Derek Fisher. So he passed Derek Fisher tonight in all-time playoff wins as the all-time leader in playoff history, which he's going to add a few more to that total by the time this bubble run is over.
Yeah. Shout out to Derek Fisher's family.
Yes.
For not having that record anymore.
Yeah. Shout out to Derek Fisher's family. I mean, now he's got to focus on his LA Sparks, who are at the top of the Western Conference, top of the WNBA. So,
they're in the wobble.
They're actually doing quite well.
I mean, good for him. He's a good WNBA coach. He wasn't a good NBA coach.
Yeah. It seemed like him and Candace Parker, because there was like a little bit of beef at the end of last season between them, but they seem to have reconciled their beef, and they're on good terms, and they're balling.
I haven't been watching much of the wobble, unfortunately. I watched like the first week of it until the NBA season started, and then I was like, obviously this is our job. This is like what my focus has been. I've been following Sato a little bit. She's killing it.
Yeah, she's dope. I mean, it sucks that Sabrina got hurt. I mean, yeah. I just check the scores, and I check on my aces. But that's my team. I adopted the Las Vegas Aces as my team, because I don't want to root for Seattle for obvious reasons. Because
I'm a Dallas Wings fan now, because like
of Sato, yeah.
Well, because like I kind of decided like there was just so much hype around Sabrina, and like Sabrina rules, but like I was like I want to like rep the Ducks, but I was like I might kind of go the other way. And also like I follow Sato on Instagram, and she's like super active on like the social issues and stuff, and like she's
always posting in German. And like I don't even understand, but I'm like go, and I'm like go, but I'm just like go Sato, because like she's a hooper and she's dope. I mean, that Oregon team was great. I mean, I'm so bummed that they didn't get a chance to win the Natty. Like that's like one of the 2020 shoutouts to like sports stopping. But yeah, and they also have Enrique Ogunbowale, who had the game winner for Notre Dame a couple years ago in the Final Four. So. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been keeping too much tabs on the W, obviously, because like when I have time to watch hoop, I'm gonna watch the hoop that I'm paid to watch. But like
once they are not playing at the same time again, it's on.
Yeah, dude. Did you see that they're gonna do they're gonna have like a double header, like game 1 or it's like game 2? I want to say game 2 or 3 of the NBA Finals and the WNBA Finals. They're gonna have they're gonna have a double header on ABC. They're gonna have the WNBA Finals lead into the NBA Finals. That's gonna be tight.
I'm with that.
Yeah, no, it'd be great. It'd be fun, like to have both of them on the same day, because that's another thing too. Is like usually when the WNBA happens, which is usually actually right around now, they're playing this season. It's normally after I come off of like a long playoff run and I'm just like, I don't want to watch basketball. And it's like the season is about to approach. So I know I'm going to only be watching basketball for the next, 8 months. But
yeah,
so that's what but like usually around now is when I start to get into it, because we're almost getting close to playoff time. And so I'm excited about that. Yeah, I'm rooting for my Aces though. I'm a big A'ja Wilson fan. I just love her.
A'ja Wilson rules.
I love her game. I love her jab step. I love that she's a lefty. Like she just has a cool ass game. And I was a big Kelsey Plum fan as well, but she's hurt. Anyway, so
and Liz Cambage obviously, but she's also not in the bubble or the
right.
Bubble.
Yes, she's not in the wubble. She's a baller. I'm kind of an A'ja better truther with Liz though. Like I like Liz. I like A'ja more. I'm an A'ja better believer.
Okay.
So Liz, don't kill me. I know that you would probably, maybe she'll find out. I know she's like very competitive and petty online. So
Liz Cambage subscribed to the Bulls vs. Blazers Patreon challenge.
Yeah, she's definitely listening to this point in the podcast. Shout out to you, by the way, if you have made it this far with us late on this Tuesday night here in smoky Oregon.
Yeah, have you gone outside at all? What's
yeah, dude. Last night was crazy. I had my fantasy football draft, obviously online, but like I was grilling something because I wanted to grill because it's fantasy football draft. That's just like something that just they go well. They go together.
It's tradition.
Yeah, it's just a tradition. And so and as I was grilling, the storm started to come in, and it was like a death cloud, and like it was like red all over. And I saw some photos from Salem today, which is where I'm from, and it was like the sky was red the whole day. Like it was.
Is it anywhere like near your family?
Yeah, the whole. Yeah, they're okay, but it's like all over, and yeah. It's bad. I mean, it's really, really bad. And everyone stay safe. I feel bad for anybody that doesn't have any power right now. That sucks. There's a lot of people that don't have power. So, but yeah.
Shout out to the gender reveal party that started all these fires.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Also, fireworks. Guys, enough. How are we not past fireworks after
one
all this shit?
From like 3 years ago. That was like what started that one. But like, also like it's August. Why are we still doing fireworks? It's not August, it's September. Like, yeah, there's one day a year where it's cool to do fireworks. And
it's also like, hello, have you guys not ever been like? It sucks when this shit happens, when there's smoke in like the city and all over the state because of some idiot starting a fire because they wanted to see something. Like, great, like you got like 5 seconds of entertainment to ruin everybody else's lives. Like, fuck you. Like, that's what I say to anybody who buys fireworks these days. I'm sorry. Like, I know maybe it's because I'm almost turning 31 very soon, but like I believe we should live in a post-firework society. And especially where we have forests and trees and shit. And this has become the forest fire podcast, but I really just think that we have reached
Bulls versus lasers in more ways than one.
Yeah, facts. So we are not. I'm stationing I'm on the corner of anti-fireworks. Like, fuck fireworks, and fuck you if you like them.
We can make this the anti-fireworks podcast. I'm on board with that.
I mean, yeah. I've had it. I've had it, especially after the Gorge Fire, man. After the Gorge Fire 2 years ago, I'm like, fuck you, man. Like, who, like, you're firecracker. Like, go play a video game, read a book, watch a movie. I don't give a fuck. Like, do something else. Like, I'm just like so over it. Like, oh.
remember the Simpsons episode where they were like out at the beach and Homer was buying illegal fireworks, but he had to like couch it in like he was like, I'd like to buy some at-home enemas. I would like to buy just like bought like all this like ridiculous shit, and then at the end he was like, and some illegal fireworks. Like,
yeah, I mean it's so classic. I mean, people still do that shit here. Like they'll go across the river to Vancouver where they can get black cats and like all the illegal fire things that are not legal in Oregon, and go do that, and then they're like, yeah, and they already go on for a week as it is. Like people start fireworks on like June 29th, like, and then they go to like June 8th or July 8th. Like people are doing fireworks all the fucking time. They're doing longer than July 4th anyway, and it's like, come on, guys, like, get over it. Like,
just do one thing for somebody else, whether it's wear a mask if you go outside during COVID, or just like don't fucking shoot off fireworks during forest fires. Come on,
yeah,
what are you doing?
during the windiest, like it was like the windiest, driest conditions.
The
like,
wind was ridiculous today.
Like, oh my god, yeah, what was ridiculous yesterday? It was wild. Like I could not believe it. Like the way the smoke was moving, and it was wild because it went. It went like super fast, and then by morning it was gone. At least in Portland, and then it got kind of in the evening here it came back. But yeah, this has been wild. I hope I mean these fires are going to be terrible. Like I don't know when it's going to end. Like so. I guess we'll stop talking about that. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited for tomorrow's Celtics Raptors game. That's good. I'm excited for both games tomorrow. Like both games tomorrow are going to be. I'm going to stake my claim here. They're both going to be lit. Like I think both games are like I think. The Raptors are not going to get rolled the way they did in Game 5, and I think that the Nuggets are just going to keep on coming and force the Clippers to have more amazing fourth quarters like they did in Game 3.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to leave it. We'll be back later this week with a Patreon episode. We'll wrap up some of these other playoff games, and also do some more Ernestine Bayless, Skip Bayless readings.
Yes, balls.
Yeah.
Balls.
So if you like, by the way, the last 2 Patreon episodes, we have been reading Skip Bayless's wife's book, Balls, about how to date a sports fan. If that's something that is of interest to you, go to patreon.com/BullsVBlazers, sign up. It is $3 a month. We've gotten 2 extra signups in the last.
I have week. I have a tease.
What's your tease?
I have the name of a chapter that we will read on that on a Patreon show soon. Maybe not next one, but maybe another one. I'm going to tease it right now.
Okay, and I don't know this, so this is news to me also.
Just to teach you, just to show you all, give you all a little taste of how insane this book is. There's a chapter called "Women at Games."
Oh hell yeah! I'm excited for this.
Women at games, because of course what are they gonna do at a game? You know what I mean? Like so yeah. So subscribe to the Patreon so we can read the chapter "Women at Games" from Ernestine Sclafani Bayless.
All right. So other than that, subscribe to us on the usual platforms: Apple, Spotify, Google, anywhere else. All the other I think I got an email from our podcast host that said we're on iHeartRadio or something. If that's where you listen, then you can probably go find it on there now. But go subscribe, rate, give us a 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Highkin. Check my stuff out at Bleacher Report. What?
I'm sorry. We have to talk about this before we sign off. Did you see Magic Johnson's tweet about Mike Budenholzer?
No, I didn't. What is it? Read it to me.
He goes, who is going to get blamed in the Milwaukee Bucks organization for another early exit from the playoffs? Nate McMillan lost his job for losing to the Heat in the first round. Will Coach Budenholzer lose his job for losing to the Heat in the second round? That's like as savage as Magic gets, dude. He's like, fuck Mike Budenholzer.
Well, I mean, it just goes back to the whole, successful black coach gets fired and underachieving white coach maybe doesn't get fired.
Yes.
Very much so. I mean, you know what? Magic does not tell any lies with that tweet. And it's I saw somebody tweeted I wish I could remember who it was so I could give them credit, but like I saw some tweet during one of the last games that Bucks lost. It was like game 3 that said like Jimmy Butler is going to get coaches fired in 2 consecutive rounds. Which like
oh my god.
Like considering that he already like he wanted to get Fred Hoiberg fired, and then he basically got Tibbs fired by demanding a trade. Like,
yes.
You know,
yeah,
and then like he also I think would have re-signed in Philly if they had fired Brett Brown last year. Like I think like he liked Embiid, but like the idea that he didn't like Embiid, like I think he likes Embiid, but I think he just like didn't really respect Brett Brown. Like here's the thing about Jimmy, like, and I actually have had this conversation with some people lately. Because I've seen some people saying like, well, there's been revisionist history about the Bulls trade of Jimmy Butler, but you understood why they did it at the time. No, I was on record. I was on the Bulls beat at the time. I wrote this on The Athletic the night that the trade happened. I wrote that it was a bad trade. I thought it was a bad trade at the time. It looks even worse now, obviously, because of the way the Bulls have gone. And now it's like, if you look back in retrospect at all the people that Jimmy rubbed the wrong way and all the things he was like complaining about, he was right about Fred Hoiberg.
Mm-hmm.
He was right about Gar and Pax in Chicago.
Yeah.
He was right about Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of right about Brett Brown. Like,
yeah.
Jimmy's style, like he rubs some people the wrong way, but he's usually right.
Yeah, no, I think it's him and the Heat are a match made in heaven. Like him and Heat culture are just like
Well, because they can go to if he's ever unhappy with anything, they can like Pat Riley can go to him and be like, look, LeBron tried to get Spo fired and we told him no and he fell in line. Like, who are you?
Right, exactly. And it's like, do you want to be Dwayne Wade? Like, do you want to be that? Because he listened to us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you want to be this guy or not? So yeah, no, I mean, he clearly fits in there. It's all about the work and being in great shape, and yeah, I mean, he's killing it, and
selling coffee at upmarked prices.
Yeah, but oh my god, the Magic tweet is I mean, I've never seen him like be like, well, I don't know, this guy maybe get fired, huh? Like what? Like that's amazing, and like a shout out to the person who wrote that tweet.
Yeah.
Since we do know that Magic employs people to write tweets for him.
Do you think Magic knew about that tweet, or was his ghostwriter going rogue?
Oh, Magic definitely knew. He was probably like, "Yo, like, get this ready." Like, he probably had it approved. He probably approved this message like a day ago. You know what I mean? Like his tweet ghostwriter like sent him like a bunch of, or maybe even before Game 4. It was like maybe it was before Game 4. They had like
he had this mocked up before Game 4 in case they had gotten swept.
Oh yeah, he definitely had it mocked up. So this was I guarantee you this language was approved as someone who's done some copywriting in his career. Like this language, I guarantee you was approved way before he posted it. So shout out to the person who crafted this tweet for Magic.
Yeah, so I mean, this has gone totally off the rails. We'll be back with you later on the Patreon. Thanks for listening.